Welcome back to the Corporate Burnouts. How are you, Mandy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
And how was your weekend? You guys had a big one.
Yeah, we had fun. So we took the kids to Sandusky, Ohio. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Sandusky, Ohio, but the
Not
big
one
deal about
thing.
that, no. The big deal about Sandusky is that is where Cedar Point is, and we rode all the roller coasters. And at 42 years old, it doesn't feel the same as a
It's not the
teenager riding
same, huh?
roller coasters.
I
No,
love
well,
roller
I just
coasters.
don't. I still love roller coasters, right? I probably rode 8, maybe 10 in one day. That's a lot because now that I'm old, I feel lightheaded. I feel nauseous. When I was a kid, I was always like, why did that person puke coming off that
Yeah.
ride? That's crazy. And now I'm like, I know why they puked. I still haven't done that, but I know what
Yeah.
they did. So I sat out several of them, one really scary one and a few that looked like it just wasn't worth the stomach ache, but they freaking loved it. This was the first time I've ever got the fast passes
Uh-huh.
because we would have been in an hour-long line for every single one of these roller coasters, and we would have been able to ride like 5 of them in the day.
Yeah.
So that was cool, very expensive, but so worth it because they were able to ride
They did
everything that
every
they wanted to, some of them twice, and so
I love
it was
that.
so fun. We took the boat because it's on Lake Erie, and we wanted
Uh-huh.
to boat on Lake Erie, which we didn't end up going on Lake Erie because it's a little bit like an ocean. So we went on Sandusky Bay, which was also like an ocean. Like it was a full adventure. Like I was, and we're in a ski boat, right?
Yeah.
This is not a big boat. It's easy for it to take on water, and we only dipped it a couple of times, but it was
A
pretty
little
wild
scary.
out there. Yeah, it was an adventure, right? Like I was like, we don't need to do this again tomorrow. But there was no skiing, right? Like
Yeah.
we
Just
weren't
a boat day.
skiing. Yeah, but yeah, so it was really cool. A really fun trip with the kids.
Can't relate. Can't relate. My kids were out of town on a getaway with their dad, and so it was just a me weekend, and I, in every sense of the word, just spent it on me, with me, all
Mhm.
the way around. We are getting ready though
Yeah.
we're leaving for Tennessee tomorrow. I'm going to go see my best friend
Mhm.
and show the girls Nashville and spend some time in Knoxville. And I'm excited. They've never been up that way. And, it's always a good time to have
They're
really
gonna
good
love
friend
it.
time. I know it's going to
Yeah.
be so
Oh,
good.
they're gonna love it. I remember the first time that I went to Nashville, and obviously I was 21, and it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it won't
But
be
during
the
the
same
day,
for these teenage girls, but during the
no,
day,
but
they'll get to see all the things.
yeah, during the day, but I mean, just all the music, like
Hmm.
everywhere you go, it's just a sing along. It's so fun. They're gonna
If
love
I'm
it.
honest, they don't care about any of that. I care about them seeing all that,
Hmm.
but, and I quote, we're doing it for the gram.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you gonna take them on that tour?
No, no, you can walk your happy ass around and take pictures wherever we are. It's gonna be fine.
That was fun though, for Sarah's bachelorette, for to get on that
Yeah,
bus and go and take all the pictures. I wouldn't have ever done that just for myself, but it was really fun.
yeah. It was
Hmm.
it was a good time. I don't think that's what they have in mind either, but either way, we're gonna spend the day in Nashville. Talissa will meet us for dinner, and then we're gonna go up to Knoxville and spend a few days with her there. We're going cliff diving up in the Smokies, so
Oh my
that'll be fun.
goodness.
Your girl can't even go off the high dive, but sure, let's jump off a cliff.
Well, and you can decide in the moment if you want to do that. We're actually the week after next, we're going to Bull Shoals, and they always loved to cliff dive there, but it's so high. I don't think that they're gonna. I mean, it's not gonna be exciting because the water is so high
Because the
that it's
water's
not
so high.
nearly the yeah, it's
Maybe it'll
not
work
nearly
out
the
for
cliff,
me.
and the
I'll be
water will
like,
be high where
I
you're
can
going.
do it. And
Yeah,
then I can just say I went cliff diving and
yeah, into
basically I
very
just
tall
jumped
water.
into a pool.
Yeah,
That's
that's
funny.
funny.
Well, we have been having some really great conversations lately about
Hmm.
just self-awareness and our personalities and communication styles and feedback and all of that. And I am really excited about what we're going to talk about today because this book, which I'll just say it, is called How to Say Anything to Anyone by Shari Harley. It's a book that we read years ago. I don't remember if it was like an assigned read or
So I think that you saw her at the Women's Food Service Forum. That's how you ran across this book.
yes, I remember seeing her there. I heard her present and it was like this like groundbreaking light bulb moment for me, which I mean, I don't deal with conflict well. I don't like to hurt people's feelings. I don't want to have mine hurt. Like I shy away from conflict pretty much always. And the way that she presented how you can give feedback to someone was like, duh, it's so easy. It's so like, how do you make money telling people this? This should be common sense.
Well,
But
it
I
does
was
seem like
proof.
common sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we don't know how.
I
We
was
never have the
proof that I
tools.
was like,
Hmm.
oh, well, this is really hard. And I've used this so many times professionally. Um, I wish that I used it more personally and like I'm glad that this is coming back up for us. But
Hmm.
what I took away the most from it was anytime that you're going to give somebody constructive feedback, right? Anytime that you have something difficult to say to somebody, if you're not coming at it from a place of love and trust, first and foremost. Like, you don't want feedback from somebody that you don't trust or that you don't
Nope.
feel like they have your best
Mm-mm.
intentions at heart.
No, then it's an attack.
Yeah,
That's what it feels
absolutely.
like.
Absolutely. And I've been in many situations, whether it be with coworkers, bosses, people in my normal everyday life, that
Hmm.
those things weren't going through my head, whether I was giving or receiving feedback. And I can tell you one of the very hardest conversations that I had specifically with a boss, I had to sit with the card from this
Hmm.
book. Like when I saw her do the presentation, she gave like little like cheat sheet cards that you could
Yeah.
literally
Hmm.
just look at the steps. And I had to sit with it in my hand. And that conversation went so well. I said everything that I needed to say.
Hmm.
I said it with kindness. I said it with respect. It was very factual. And it was a productive conversation.
Yeah.
Changed
And
everything.
that's what this book is good for. Talking about making relationships, talking about coming in with love, right? Never give feedback when you're angry, right? You need to be in a good spot and you need to think it through because when someone feels attacked, it never works. They don't retain that. Now you're the asshole.
Hmm.
Like they can't take on any responsibility for what the feedback was for when it's a negative feedback situation. And I think that that is a huge takeaway that I had. Like, if you're not coming at it with love to make someone better, to improve, if you're just trying to get shit off your chest, then you need these steps that they have in the book to try
Yeah.
and do it, because otherwise it's not well received. And we talked about with Amy last week about receiving feedback and
Hmm.
giving feedback, and we talked about it with the personality tests and how people receive and take feedback, right? But we have to allow Shari, I think, to and we'll go through some of these parts of the book. We need her to help us make this communication contract, right?
Yeah.
With the people around us, with the people who work for us, with the people who we work for, with our coworkers, with our friends, with our family, with our kids, right? With everybody. Have this communication contract, start to build a relationship, and now have the tools to have these conversations. Because when you don't have these conversations, what happens to me is I get resentful. If
Yeah.
I to push something down because I'm afraid of how the other person is going to react to some confrontation, then I shut down. And now we're not having the conversation. And now I'm just every single thing that adds on to it. Oh, it just keeps adding up.
Yeah.
And it's like, that makes me so mad. So having these conversations is so important and having that
Yeah.
contract in place.
That contract is very, very important. What gets me is if I don't feel comfortable or confident in having a difficult conversation with someone and giving feedback that I need to, and like you, I'm pushing it down because I don't want to deal with it. If that person comes to me with something to say, then it's even harder for me to hear you because I haven't said what I
Hmm.
needed to say and I'm the problem, right? Like
Hmm.
I can't listen because I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
And that doesn't
Right,
serve
because it's a
anyone well.
breakdown of trust at that
Yes,
point. It's
it's a
like, really, you're
breakdown
coming
on
at me
on
with something? I got
right.
something for you,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
now I'm the asshole because I'm turning a situation where you have an issue that you wanted to talk about into something that was an issue that I had.
It looks
But
like deflecting because you already
yes,
had
and
something.
it's not intentionally deflecting, but it actually is deflecting because
Mhm.
it's like, well, hold on, you might have a point here, but I had one first and I just didn't have the guts to bring it to you. And that's shitty on my part, you know? So
Mhm.
just to be able to get back to the formula, you know, getting back
Mhm.
to this and like you said, having that contract with those people that you care about or that are in leadership over you or under you or working alongside you to be able to have open communication, it changes everything because it's a lot
Mhm.
easier to hear feedback from someone if you have trust in that they want the best for you
Mhm.
and when they're not coming at you from a place of anger or frustration, which can sometimes be really hard, man, because that's when you really want to communicate, is when you're pissed.
Yes. Yes, but I think that if you have the communication contract, I think that there's a chance that even angry, you can have a conversation if you use the formula too,
Hmm.
right? So let's dig into the communication contract, okay?
Okay.
Because I think that when we were talking about the personality tests, we were kind of given a little bit of the contract. Like we knew from looking at each other's results how someone probably needed feedback.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's a lot better in the contract. You ask how people like to receive feedback. I
Hmm.
think that that's huge because if I can give you the exact, like, here's how I'd like you to say it to me with your kid gloves or some
Yeah.
people are like, yell in my face. It's the only way to get through to me, but everybody needs to receive it differently. And asking someone, I think really, I mean, I haven't had that many people ask me that, but I would be like, you actually care. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it changes everything, you know, because your natural instinct of how you give feedback and who you're giving that to is probably pretty rarely going to align, right? Like, because
Mhm.
not all of our personalities are the same. And
No.
I don't think that I've asked that question. I don't think that I've asked that question maybe in a really, really long time, if ever. And I think it could be a
I
game
think we should
changer.
ask everybody. I
Yeah.
think that obviously you know how to parent your girls. You've done it for a very long time, but it could be really interesting to just ask
I was
them,
gonna
like,
say, I know what comes naturally to me, but I don't know what they prefer because I
mm-hmm.
haven't asked them.
Yeah.
And it may take, you know, if somebody were to ask me how I want to receive feedback, actually, like light bulb moment, Paisley and I had a conversation very similar to this yesterday. But if you were to ask me how I want to receive feedback, I don't know if I would know how to answer that immediately. Like it's something that you might have to really sit and think about, and
Mm-hmm.
giving somebody else the opportunity to do that and then revisiting the conversation could be
Yeah, say,
really
I'll come back
powerful.
to you. I have to think about it. But
Yeah.
like, I want to receive feedback in a calm way, in a kind way, and in a private way, right? I
Yeah.
never want to receive feedback in the middle of a group, in the middle of
Hmm.
a meeting. I want to receive feedback quickly and not after it's been,
Boiling.
yes.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to do I want you to almost nitpick me so that nothing ever stacks up and
Hmm.
becomes a big freaking problem because explosions are what shuts me down, when there's a full
Yeah.
explosion.
Well, it's funny that you say that because Paisley was telling me the other day she got in the car and was just like, and I need to do this and I need to, and I was like, hey, like, chill with the attitude. Don't talk to me like that. I get it. You can tell me this normally. And she's like, Mom, here's the thing. I'm really frustrated because I've been telling you these things. And when
Mhm.
I tell you calmly and nicely or whatever, you don't hear me. You're like, yeah, 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 we'll get to that. And then we didn't get to that. And now I'm frustrated because I've told you 5 times and we're still not doing it. And I was like, you're right. Let's stop what we're doing. We'll get it done right now. And later we had kind of a follow up conversation to that. And I was like, I'm seeing this in more than one place in my life where somebody has said something to me, maybe a little more casually. And it's not that I'm not hearing you, it's that it's not getting all the way through
Yeah, because it's
because
not an emergency right
it's not
now.
it's not an emergency right now, but I'm not stopping long enough to like take my mind off of whatever else is going on and going, okay, this is a big deal to you. Let me respect this moment with you. And then actually put that on my priority list of whatever needed to get done or whatever needed to be shifted or changed or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like a yeah. I'm operating in I'm only focused on whatever the next thing is right now on the priority list. And I'm focusing on emergencies, not the overall well-being of everyone around me, which is a personal thing that I got to get through. But at the same time, like I said, next time, if you get to this place where you're like, I really want to yell and scream because you're not listening to me, that right there is exactly what I need you to say. Take a deep breath and just
Yeah,
say,
we're all the way to 10.
yeah,
So
I really
let's
am
get this.
frustrated. I need you to listen. I'm trying to avoid, and not to say that that's hers to manage whatsoever, because it's not. I'm the
But you've
mom.
told her how you want to receive that, right? So that
Right.
it gets through
And
and
she's
it doesn't
like,
cause a fight. Yeah.
right. And she's like, okay, I'll do it, but I don't know. And I'm like, listen, I'm seeing this like pattern that
Mhm.
I've got going with you and with other people. So I need you like to just like do me this solid. Give me the chance to recognize it myself. Because until
Mhm.
I recognize when it's happening myself, then I can't change that like automatic behavior.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
Anyways,
I
big
I
stuff.
absolutely love that. How you want to receive feedback. She has in the communication contract, she asks a lot of questions, and I think that it helps to build a relationship and it helps you get to know people. One of the other ones that I like is what annoys you that most people wouldn't know. Okay, because I am want to be a person who tells people up front, this is how I like to receive feedback. This is how I need you to treat me. This is how I will treat you, all of those things. But we're not perfect communicators, none of us.
Yeah.
But I am a very good communicator about the things that drive me up the wall because I want people to understand it's not you, it's me. This is a me problem.
Hmm.
Okay. But we are coexisting together. So one of my boundaries is if you're eating lunch, we're not going to talk on the phone. That won't be happening at the same time. And that is a me thing. You're not doing anything wrong. That's a me thing. So I'm always going to get off the phone with you and it could hurt your feelings. It could feel like I'm mad at you. I'm not. I just can't do that. Right. So I've set some of those parameters. But wouldn't it be nice to know that about the people who you spend the most time with at work? To
Before
know
they go, I can't talk to you right now.
no,
And you have
before
to
they
ruminate about it.
explode on
Yeah.
you, because I try not to explode my, what is trauma,
Yeah.
technically, my trauma onto other people. I try and remove myself from situations so that we don't have big blow up fights,
Yeah.
like so that it doesn't end up feeling like it's somebody else. It's completely me, and I know that. But I would love to know because some people don't avoid blowing up on people for things that they're doing that have nothing to do with them. And so it's like, what wouldn't I know annoyed you? If someone asked me that question, I would say mostly sounds made with people's mouths. Like
Yeah.
that's me. It drives me fucking crazy and I can't figure out yet how to not let that happen. So I'm going to tell you, hopefully you will avoid it. If you don't want to avoid it, that's fine. I'm going to avoid
Here's
it.
how I'm
And
going to handle it. And
yes.
you shouldn't let it bother you if I dismiss myself because you can't stop smacking your chips.
Well, but I love these contract questions because it it starts a conversation and a relationship, and now we have open communication hopefully, and we know how to bring feedback and how to avoid issues and things like that. So I loved that part of the book is the
Yeah.
communications contract.
It's good groundwork for sure. But like when you get to the point that you're giving feedback, I think that this is a really important piece because a lot of people are really scared of just saying the thing. Sometimes you can find yourself dancing around whatever the hard thing is or sugarcoating it in a way that it's not readily understandable of what actually happened. Like what are you trying to get to? You
Mhm,
just have to say the thing. Just say it.
mhm,
You have to say it well. You have to say it with
mhm,
kindness, but get it all the way out and then further explain how it impacted you and make a request that things are different and exactly how they should be different to make an impact.
and so that's the feedback formula, right? And I love the feedback formula because and one of the biggest parts of it is that it is not a accusation. We're
Mhm.
never accusing, we're never attacking during this. We are talking about what we saw, which is an observation, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about how it made us feel. It's an I statement, not a
Mhm.
you statement.
Yep.
We're not pointing fingers. And then how we can figure, like move forward and do it better. It feels simple, right? It feels simple
Yes.
to do that, but in the moment it's hard,
It
but you
doesn't
have to
feel
think it
simple
through.
when you are emotionally charged about something. If
Mhm.
I'm frustrated at you because
Mhm.
you have interrupted me 3 times in a meeting, which, oh, by the way, will never be the case. It'll probably be the opposite. But if I'm pissed at you because you keep interrupting me and you don't know what's wrong, and you're like, hey, Mandy, what's wrong with you? I'm probably going to just bubble out like, you won't shut the hell up and let me talk, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Instead of being like, you have interrupted me 3 times in the meeting, and it makes me feel like you don't value what it is that I have to say, and that's really frustrating to me.
And you know what that though does? When you say it like that, when you say it makes me feel that you don't value me being in this meeting or whatever,
Mhm.
I immediately go to, I definitely value you being in this meeting. Instead of if you had said, you obviously have no respect for anybody or me in this
Yeah.
meeting, and now I'm defensive, right?
Yep.
So it's a huge difference.
Yeah,
I love that example.
if I were to say to you, this makes me feel like you don't value me and what I have to say in this meeting, it gives you the opportunity to say, No, I really do value you, and I didn't mean for you to feel that way. I will change my behavior, blah, blah, blah." It
Mhm.
continues the conversation and gives you the opportunity to defend yourself or apologize or say, "Well, I actually don't value what you're bringing to the table, and here's
Yeah.
why."
I think you should leave. You
Either
shouldn't even
way,
team.
it opens up the conversation for further honesty, but in a productive way. If
Hmm.
I were to come to you and say, it really pisses me off that you don't respect anybody else in the room but yourself, then you're going to immediately be like, that's
Of
not,
course I respect.
yeah, that's not reality. I'm sorry. Except I'm going to say, I'm sorry, very sarcastically and defensively rather than being like, wow, I didn't understand or know the impact that I had on you.
Well, because most people are not coming from a place of, like, I don't interrupt you because I don't value what you're saying or because I am an asshole or any of those things. I interrupt you because I want to get out what I have to say before I forget it.
Yeah, before it leaves my brain.
Yes. And that's not fair, but it happens a lot. But the formula works, and it's exactly probably what was on that card that helped you
Mhm.
through the hard conversation. And I'm sure plenty after that, we had to give so much feedback. And I think that just knowing people and being able to read people, especially the marketers that we worked with, like we knew that some people feedback in a certain way and others in another way, and others were getting crazy feedback from their bosses. And then we were helping, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
so many different things, but I think the thing that I took the most from this book and I used the most in corporate
Mhm.
was the setting the expectation so that you can hold the boundary,
Yeah.
basically. And I love that because even though people know the rules, right?
Mhm.
They know that they're not supposed to text during a meeting or they're not supposed to, I don't know, talk over other people or be late. Everybody knows you're not supposed to be late, okay? And but some people are just going to be late and they're going to ask for forgiveness. And
Yeah.
that is just who they're going to be. Now, if you are coming at a situation and going, we have to leave at this time. All right, we're leaving at 9 a.m. The bus leaves at 9 a.m. Okay. I am not going to wait. Like at 9:05, we're out of here.
Whether or not you're on it.
Yes. And now you've set the expectation. So you feel comfortable leaving at 9:05. If you had just said the bus leaves at 9 o'clock, there's no, I'm not telling you what the consequence will be. I'm not telling you, you already know this is important to me. And now I I haven't told it ahead of time. I'm going to feel bad leaving at 9:05. I'm going to be like, they're probably going to be here any minute. And now we're running
Mhm.
everybody behind. I think that it is the most respectful way to set a rule with people, especially adults,
Yeah.
and it's now you feel comfortable having the confrontation, giving the feedback because you set the expectation right there up front. That always makes me feel a lot better in almost every
Yeah.
situation.
It makes you feel better being the one to give the consequence if that's the position that you're in. Like, I told
Mhm.
you this was going to happen. I gave you the entire layout. You
Mhm.
made the choice that you made. It is what it is. It makes it a lot easier when you have to follow through on what you said you were going to do because you gave them that opportunity to, react appropriately or you behave appropriately or show up on time or whatever that looks like. But the opposite side of that is when you don't tell, right? When you don't set that clear expectation, or even if it's not on the expectation side, on the giving feedback side, silence when you don't have the guts to say what you need to say, and this is something that I'm so guilty of, is is actually selfish. I have an issue with that too, but at the same time, by like keeping quiet and keeping the peace, because I am a little
Mhm.
bit of a peacekeeper, you're not really keeping the peace. You're just leaving the other person confused. You're leaving them with no ability to meet an expectation or a standard that either hasn't been clearly set or they don't know that they're not there. And it's not fair because eventually it will bubble up and be a massive issue. To me, it's like having a boss that is super chill pretty much all the time, and then you sit down for an annual review and you are blindsided for
Yeah.
all of the feedback.
And it feels, that would feel so terrible. Or you have a boss that's super chill but also passive aggressive because they're not telling you the things that giving you the feedback, and
Yeah.
now little bits of passive aggressiveness are coming out and you're
Mhm.
like, what is that for? I don't know what I did wrong, right? So in both of those scenarios, this person is not having the conversations that they need to have daily, weekly, monthly, and now it's the steam is coming out of the pot in different ways,
Yep.
and I don't love that at all. And I don't want to be that kind of boss or coworker. And sometimes I think that it's easy to let it build up though.
Yeah.
Like we just have to like actually think about giving this good feedback. I want to give one more example because again, so many of the hard conversations that you have are with your own family. Okay.
Mhm.
And I am not a mom. I'm a bonus mom. But I was afraid I was going to be a yelling mom, like a mom who's just always yelling, right? Like,
Mhm.
and maybe that's why I didn't have kids. Maybe I wasn't just like set for it. Who knows? But I think that so many tough conversations have to be had, right? And I I refuse. I will not be, especially the bonus mom who's
Mhm.
just running around yelling, right? Because that's not my place. These kids have two parents that can yell at them if they want to. But there are hard conversations, right? There are things that you want to happen and rules that you want followed and those types of things. And I have this conversation with Dan a lot because he'll be like, I'm mad. That was because they know the rules. They know that, like, let's just, for instance, last night, all right, Brody has 3 friends stay the night, and we're going to go to bed at a normal hour because we're old and we have to work in the morning. And so I'm like, remind him that there's no screaming after, 10:30 or whatever when we're going to go to bed. And he's like, I'll just shut it down and I'm like, okay. Or you could remind him. He knows that he shouldn't be screaming once everybody else goes to sleep.
Yeah.
He knows that. But let's remind him and remind him what the consequence would be for that. Obviously, we're not kicking kids out, but we won't be
Yeah.
doing this again. Definitely not on a weeknight,
Yeah.
right? But he needs to be reminded of that. You need to set that rule again because otherwise, if you would come storming out with them screaming and yelling in the middle of the night, playing video games or whatever, he would look at you like you had 11 heads
Yeah.
because I cannot believe that you're doing this to me. But
Embarrassing
it's
him in front of his friends, making his friends feel awkward because they didn't
right.
know.
And obviously, Dan doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to
Right.
be the dad who comes out and yells at his kid in front of the friends or at all the friends, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. But he needed to set that, like, to say, listen, we can't have that because we all have to get up early in the morning and
Mhm.
work. So just so you know. And then there was no yelling after 10:30.
Mhm.
I think that there probably would have been. Even though we know that rule.
Yeah.
That's a common sense rule, and he's been in trouble for it before, screaming on the PlayStation at midnight, but he needed a reminder. And I think that when you set those with your kids, they look at you and they're like, I knew. I knew. But if it's just a known rule and then you come at them, they're like, I can't believe that you would be mad at me for something that obviously you're always mad at me about, you know? But it's like, I just 2 hours ago told you. So now you're like, yeah, I messed
It's
that up.
really funny that you say that because yesterday Peyton asked me if she could go to a friend's house yesterday evening, and I was like, you know what? Your room's not clean. It hasn't been clean in a hot minute. You are not going anywhere until your room is clean. And don't push me on it because it's not going to happen.
Mm.
Paisley and I left the house. We went shopping. Peyton was like, I don't want to go. I said, well, you're invited, but you still have to have your room clean before you go to Taylor's house.
Mhm.
And she said, okay, I'm going to stay here so that I don't like waste any time getting that done. I said, perfect. So Paisley and I are gone for a couple hours. I come back. She's asleep. Room's not clean. And I looked at her and said, what time are you planning on going to your friend's house? And she was like, oh, I'm not going. I didn't get this done and I don't have time to get it done. I already told her that I failed. And I was like, well, I
It
didn't
was
even
her
have to
decision.
punish her.
Yeah.
She made that
No.
decision. But then again, yesterday evening, I was like, oh, by the way, just because you decided not to go to your friend's house doesn't mean that you're not going to clean your room. So
Yeah, you still have to clean
you
the
might want to get
room.
up and do that because you're still going to need to get that done. She was like,
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, you thought you're off the hook. You're not.
Hmm.
So that's
You're
fun.
not.
But I did love that in setting that expectation early, when she knew she didn't do what she was supposed to,
Hmm.
she like she punished herself. She knew what
Hmm.
the consequence was going to be, and she knew better than to even to try,
Hmm.
right? Like this is how it's going to have to be. Sorry.
Right, but what's interesting to me is that she knows that she needs to have her room clean before she goes and does fun stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like that's a rule, but she was still going to, she asked to go and she was going to go without cleaning her room unless you had held that right
Hmm.
to her. But she would have been mad if you would have told her right before, like, you're not leaving without that. And then she's like, well, I can't get it all done now.
Hmm.
Right. So I don't know. The clear communication on the front and the back end of any situation, I think is very important, especially like I use the example of the kids because there's a lot of feedback
Is
that goes into
required.
teenagers. Yeah. But like Shari in the book, she talked about speaking on a stage and these two women side talking, right, the whole time. And she's like, it was so distracting to have them talking and me trying to talk. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my worst nightmare. I freaking hate that.
Hmm.
But she didn't feel comfortable calling them out in front of everybody. So these are people that she doesn't have a relationship with. They technically know this unspoken social rule
That
that
you
if you're
shouldn't
in a
do that.
presentation, you shouldn't do that. They technically know it. Everybody knows it, that that's rude. But she didn't feel comfortable saying anything to them because she didn't have a relationship to give them the feedback. She didn't know how they liked to get feedback. She hadn't set an expectation. So the next day at her next presentation, she sets it ahead of time. And that is huge because now if little, chatty Cathy's over here have something to say, it's like, and you can even have fun with it. Remember when we talked yesterday about, or earlier
Yeah.
today about talking and how it's so distracting, and you can maybe even have fun with it, but it's like smack their hand because everyone knew that their hand was going to be smacked if they decided that they needed to have full volume conversations,
Yes.
which is crazy.
She actually did that in the presentation that I sat through with her at the very
Hmm.
beginning. She was like, I'm gonna just be real with you. Like, here's some ground rules. If you want to be in my presentation, we're gonna talk about feedback. So I'm gonna set some expectations. And she told us the few things that were going to be a hinder
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
everyone in the room getting the information that they wanted. And it was like
Mhm.
does everybody want to learn something today? Yay. Okay, then here's what's going to need to happen. And if this happens, if this does not happen correctly,
Mhm.
this is how I'm going to respond to it to protect everyone else in the room from being distracted or, not getting the information that they came for. And girl, when I tell you, you didn't hear a pin drop in there. I mean, everybody was engaged. We were laughing because she's a really dynamic speaker, but
Right, but not
it
separate from
was,
her
yeah,
presentation.
no, it was all very, very engaging and it worked. It definitely worked.
Mhm.
And then again, it was like this is such a common sense situation. I feel like an idiot that of this entire conference and all these speakers, this was the takeaway. But I think it was such a huge takeaway because if you're emotionally charged, all common sense goes out the window. And difficult conversations often include heavy emotions that go along with that, whether it's anger, frustration, sadness, like all the things, right? And to have that formula and to know, like, okay, I'm feeling these things and I have to say what I got to say. I need to bring it back to productivity. How can we do that?
Okay.
Before we kind of wrap this up, I want to make sure that we give the full formula for this feedback and then encourage everyone to go grab this book. Like it's a quick read, it's an easy one, but it is so dang powerful. Mandy, I know you have the book right in front of you. Do you want to walk us
Yeah,
through?
I do. I do. So we're going to call it step 0, the communication contract, right? So have that in place. That's always a great place to start, is to make sure that communication is open and that feedback will be received by somebody. Love that. Step 1, introduce the conversation. So she says, John, when you have 5 minutes, I need to talk with you. All right. So we're letting them know that a conversation is going to be had and they get the choice to, do that. Step 2, state your motive. This is a little awkward and it may be uncomfortable. I want you to know that while I wish I didn't have to tell you this, I'm doing it because I care about you and I want you to be successful. All right. So that obviously doesn't work for every single, that exact example for every
Right.
single type,
But you can
but
apply it.
state your motive. Let them know why we're having this conversation, but in a kind way.
Hmm.
That's not, we're here because you suck, right? Step 3, describe the observed behavior. All right. So this was step 1 of the smaller uh, formula. John, I've noticed that you have an odor. This is funny. But how
Those are the
hard,
worst
yes,
ones in the
how
workplace
hard
when
is
you're
it to
like,
tell somebody that's a problem? Oh my gosh, like I would
I've
quit
had to do that
before
before
I'd
where I'm
have that.
like, I've noticed you don't wear a bra. This
Mhm.
is really distracting.
Yeah.
Really hard conversations.
Ugh. All right, step 3, again, describe the observed behavior. So this person has an odor you have to tell them about. Step 4, share the impact or result of the behavior. I know this is a very awkward subject. We work in a small space. I don't want others to avoid working with you or say negative things about you. And as awkward as this is, I would rather you hear this from me than from someone else. Sometimes health conditions can cause certain odors, as can eating certain foods. So you're concerned about them because it could be that they have some kind of health
Yeah.
issue.
Not
It
everything is
could be
negligence.
hygiene, but it's not just this is bothering me because I don't like that smell. It's like I don't want to make work harder for you. You might not know that this is an issue, right? So you're bringing it to them with the impact or the result of the behavior. Step 5, have some dialogue. Ask the recipient for his perception of the situation. What are your thoughts? And then give John time to say whatever he wishes to say. Step 6, make a suggestion or request for what to do next time. Again, I'm really sorry to have to tell you this. Please make sure you shower every day before coming to work and wash your clothes each time you wear them. And please tell me if there's something else you'd like me to know. Because of the awkwardness of this subject, skip 7 and go straight to 8. But step 7 is to agree on the next steps. What are we going to do next here? And then step 8 is to thank them for the conversation. And I think, and this is exactly what that card was, right? If you can line it out, what are you going to say for each of these things? And just know so that you don't miss anything that might be really important to the conversation. I think that that's huge.
Yeah, I do
I think
too.
that it's really huge.
And it's so funny just listening to this feedback formula and how simple it is. And when you think back to conversations that you've actually had and you go, man, that could have gone so differently.
So differently, right? If you just know what to say, right?
Yeah.
I think that there are some other tips. I want to give a couple more things that I got from the book before
Hmm.
we run out of here, because I think that if you set expectations and have these conversations right away, if you have the feedback formula, if you build a relationship and trust, all of these things make it so much easier, right?
Right.
But I think that some of these other tips that I learned are awesome too. And we talked about this, I think, on the last podcast with Amy.
Hmm.
I like to ask for feedback because that makes me feel more receptive to receiving it. I think that it also makes other people feel more comfortable giving it,
Yeah.
right? So ask for feedback. That's huge.
And I think that it's also important to have regular, regular check ins, especially if you've already had a difficult conversation. Stay ahead of it,
Hmm.
have that conversation to be like, hey, where are we at with this?
Yeah.
Are you feeling good
Hmm.
about the progress either that I've made or that you've asked of me,
Hmm.
or even checking in with that other person, like, how's it going?
Hmm. Yep.
And when you do that intentionally, future difficult conversations either don't have to be difficult or they can be completely avoided because of your just ongoing
Hmm.
communication.
Yeah. And it creates a culture of feedback in general, right? Because we're always giving it and we're always receiving it. It's not just a every once in a while thing where you have to be nervous about it. It's
Yeah.
happening quite a bit. And so it feels more normal. And I love that. Another thing that I really got was avoiding the drive-by feedback. Okay, because it can come off as passive aggressive. It surprises people
Mm-hmm.
because they're not, if your boss says, "Can you talk in my office?" At least your head is prepared in some way to receive something
Yeah.
from them. And if you just walk by and you're like, "Quit doing that. This is not how we do this. This is not how this company is run." It's flippant, and even if said correctly, it will give you a little bit of whiplash.
Yeah. And it doesn't actually set an expectation or tell them how to change a behavior.
Mhm.
It just tells them that they're wrong, which is going to in
Yes.
turn make them defensive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's no way to give the I statement. There's no way to set the stage at all if you do drive by, because now you're just accusing as you walk by.
Yep.
Right.
Big stuff today.
Mhm.
Big stuff today.
Yep.
But I think that the more you dig into these sort of things and be really conscious of your communication with people, their personality types, the awareness. I love the evolution of this conversation and how it just keeps building. Ultimately, makes such a huge difference in burnout because it's about like letting the emotions build, right? I mean, that's really where, for me at least, burnout really stemmed from was getting to a place where I was resentful, getting to a place where I didn't feel like what I was doing was working, and communication can take a huge weight off of that sometimes. Now, it wasn't going to get me what I wanted in the job. It wasn't going to get me off the road and all the things. So, I don't know necessarily that it could have saved me, but I do think that there's a lot of situation where it can bring a lot of peace if you just know how to handle things.
Yep. It's huge. Okay, so I somehow ended up with two of these books, and I don't know how. So I am willing to get rid of one. So I would love if you could comment on on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening to this. You can comment and tell us the takeaway that you got from us reviewing this book with you. I will draw one in 1 month. Let's give people a
Yeah,
little bit of time. In 1 month, I'll
30
draw.
days.
Yeah, I will put everyone in a hat and draw, and I will ship you this book because I think everyone needs to read it, and you should just go out and get it if you want it, to
Yeah.
read it. But I will give away one of these books. So comment and tell us what you thought, and we will put you in the drawing.
Look at you, generous Mandy. That's
Oh
great.
yeah, with my extra book. No, I think everyone should read
I
it
do too.
because
It's powerful.
it's so powerful, and it's not just for corporate, and it's not just for business owners, and it's not just for parents. It's for literally
Every
everybody because
human.
you have feedback for people all the time,
Yeah.
every
Incredible.
day
It's
probably.
definitely one that, gosh, I've reread it several times, but at this stage of life, that looks very different than my corporate world and different than how I would have applied it before. I'll definitely be revisiting this one. So,
Hmm.
well,
Yes.
thanks for the
All right.
chat today. I'm
Yes, it was
excited
good.
about what we've kind of uncovered, but even more excited about where we're going to go from here. So, you guys
Uh-huh.
come back and see us next week, and we will see you there.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.